Some days in Santa Clara, the news does not just arrive. It hits the building hard. John Lynch basically put Brandon Aiyuk's situation in front of the entire league. Fred Warner is back with no restrictions, and that changes the whole feeling around this defense. The 49ers are also adding a possible post-draft edge rusher with real hunger, and they just invested big in a receiver who could be part of the future. If you bleed red and gold, hit subscribe right now, because today brings pain, hope, pressure, and some massive decisions for this team. Now just picture it for a second. John Lynch, after the draft, phone in hand, making it clear that teams can call. That is not just background noise. That is the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers showing everyone that the Brandon Aiyuk situation has reached a cold, difficult place. And it hurts to say that, because when Aiyuk was fully locked in with this team, he was a real difference maker. He was not just another name on the roster. He was a second-team All-Pro wide receiver, a two-time 1,000-yard player, and a weapon who could change coverage, punish man-to-man, and give this offense something most teams are always searching for. But the NFL does not stop because emotions are complicated. The relationship clearly broke down. The team reached the point of voiding all of his guaranteed money for 2026. Aiyuk basically disappeared from the team environment. And the last image of him on the field still hangs over everything. October 20th, 2024, that brutal knee injury involving the ACL, MCL, and cartilage. That is not a small detail. It changes the market. It changes trust. It changes medical urgency. It changes negotiations. And still, Lynch did not sound like someone trying to dump him for nothing. He sounded like someone protecting value. We're available. Give us a call. Short, direct, almost cold, but the strategy is clear. The 49ers do not want to simply release a talented player and watch another team try to restart his career for free. Lynch said if an opportunity comes up, they would be happy to do something. He also made it clear that an immediate release is not happening. Not now. Not anytime soon. And honestly, that firmness makes sense. A contender cannot operate from emotion. You cannot let frustration, hurt pride, or bad timing force you into a move that gives another team the advantage. If Aiyuk is never going to play for San Francisco again, then this split still needs to bring something back. Some kind of compensation, some kind of value, something for a roster that still believes it can chase January football. But here is the tension. How long can this stay frozen before it starts affecting the air around the team? Every day Aiyuk stays on the roster without being present, without a fit, and without a clear future in Santa Clara, it leaves a shadow over the offense. At the same time, letting him walk for nothing would feel like accepting a total loss in a story that has already cost too much. That is the rope being pulled tight. Lynch is telling the league to call. Now the question is whether someone is willing to pay for talent, a medical gamble, and an emotional fresh start all in one package. And then, right in the middle of all that tension, we got the kind of scene that brings the fan base back to life. Number 54 moving without a limp. Fred Warner returned to the offseason program at Levi's Stadium and said he has no restrictions. For most players, that might sound like a simple medical update. For the 49ers, it feels like the defense getting its voice back. Because Warner is not just a great linebacker, he is the heartbeat of that side of the ball. He adjusts, he communicates, he senses danger before it becomes a problem. He corrects things before chaos turns into a big play. When the game starts moving fast, he gives this defense control. When he broke and dislocated his right ankle on October 12th against Tampa Bay, the entire defense felt different. For the first time in 8 years, he had to watch from the sideline. 12 final games without the man who normally directs traffic in the middle of the field. And if you watched it, you know. It was not just a talent loss, it was a command loss. The communication slipped, the consistency dipped. At times, the defense looked like it was trying to remember who it was without the player who usually sets the standard. That is why Warner's words matter so much. He said he feels extremely blessed, grateful to be back, feeling great, and ready to jump right in. And the part that really stands out is how he talked about January. The 49ers opened his 21-day practice window on January 13th. He did not end up playing in that ugly 41-6 divisional loss to Seattle, but practicing that week gave him confidence. He said it gave him all the confidence in the world to attack the offseason like a normal offseason, instead of starting from zero in rehab. That is huge. There is a big difference between coming back while still trying to find yourself and coming back already believing your body is ready. Warner finished 2025 with 51 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery in only 6 games. 6 games, and he still left a mark. Now imagine this defense with him healthy from the spring, leading the young guys, setting the tone, demanding details, putting fear back in the middle of the field. That is why this update feels bigger than just a rehab note. While Aiyuk represents a broken relationship that may need to be carefully torn out, Warner represents continuity, identity, leadership, the thing San Francisco cannot afford to lose. One side of the building is dealing with a difficult separation. The other side is getting its defensive heart back. And for a team trying to be treated like a real NFC threat again, that matters in a massive way. Talent is important, but healthy leadership, present and practicing with no restrictions, changes the emotional ceiling of the entire team. Now here comes the kind of move that will not dominate national headlines, but it absolutely makes plugged-in fans raise an eyebrow. According to Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network, the 49ers are signing Indiana edge Mikail Kamara after the draft. Fowler called it a big get in the UDFA bucket. And for a team that spent the weekend adding depth in the trenches, this name does not feel random. Kamara comes in with a different kind of story than the usual undrafted rookie just trying to survive minicamp. He went from James Madison to Indiana with Curt Cignetti and became one of the faces of the Hoosiers' defensive rise. In 2024, he had the best statistical season of his career. 47 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 10 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. That gets your attention. But the detail that gives it real weight is the stage. Kamara leaves Indiana as a college football playoff national champion. He was named Defensive Player of the Game in the 27-21 title game win over Miami. He also blocked a punt that turned into an Indiana touchdown, helping push the lead to 17-7 in the third quarter. That is not just production. That is a player making a major play in a massive moment. And for San Francisco, that kind of profile fits the need. The team drafted Romello Height in the third round, took Grayson Halton in the fourth, and still kept looking for edge options. Why? Because the NFL punishes thin rosters. A pass rush cannot live off one star name at the top. When the rotation disappears, the opposing quarterback breathes. When the quarterback breathes, the secondary suffers. And when the secondary suffers, the whole defense starts playing from a disadvantage. Kamara does not walk in with a guaranteed roster spot. Nobody serious treats a UDFA like a finished solution. But he walks in with production, pressure, championship experience, and a decisive play in a national title game on his resume. That changes the level of curiosity. In training camp, he has to prove the motor shows up against pro blockers. He has to prove the burst is not just a Saturday thing. He has to prove his run discipline is strong enough for coaches to trust him. But that is the beautiful and brutal part of roster building. Some guys come in through the side door, and if they fight hard enough, they force everybody to look again. So I want to hear from the faithful on this one. Do you want the Niners to pack the edge room and let competition sort it out? Or do you still think they need a bigger name in the rotation? Because Kamara might be a small contract bet, but the hunger he brings does not feel small at all. And after open phone lines, a defensive leader returning, and a hungry edge bet, the news flips back to the offense. But the pressure does not drop. San Francisco used pick number 33 on De'Zhaun Stribling, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. And this conversation gets serious, because taking a receiver that high while the Brandon Aiyuk situation is hanging over everything is not just a roster detail. It is a message. It is the team looking at the future of the offense and saying it needs size, speed, and a vertical threat without being frozen by a broken relationship. Stribbling is 6'2", 210 pounds with 10-inch hands. He ran a 4.36 40, posted a 36-inch vertical, and jumped 10'7" in the broad. In plain English, that is an outside receiver frame with enough explosion to scare corners early. He started at Washington State, finished at Ole Miss, and ended his final season as the Rebels' second leading receiver, going over 800 yards for the second straight year. He also put up 199 combined yards in 2 college football playoff appearances. That matters, because San Francisco is not just buying size and speed on a spreadsheet, it is taking someone who produced in big environments. His scouting profile fits a real need. Stribbling is described as a long strider, the kind of receiver who eats up cushion against off-man and bail technique. He sells vertical routes well, tracks the ball in the air, has field awareness, and can threaten all 3 levels. He also shows up on hitches, curls, comebacks, and routes over the middle, with tools to beat press man using his feet, timing, and hands to clear contact early in the route. For an offense built on rhythm, space, play action, horizontal stress, and the right vertical shot at the right time, that is a very interesting package. But I am not going to sell him like he is perfect, because that is not how you talk honestly about the 49ers. The report points out concerns. He can struggle with short area quickness in the contact window. He needs to expand his release package. He does not always dominate at the catch point against physical defensive backs. His speed is more build-up than instant, and he does not create separation with violent cuts because his hip sync is only average. His grade was 7.49, projected as a high-level backup with starter upside. He was ranked 68th overall, WR15, with shades of Romeo Doubs as the comparison. So why take him at number 33? Because fit and need sometimes speak louder than outside consensus. If Aiyuk is headed out, San Francisco has to prepare the next version of this receiver room. Stribbling does not need to carry the offense from snap one. He needs to learn the details, get tougher through contact, build chemistry fast, and turn that physical package into Sunday production. If that happens, the 49ers did not just draft a receiver. They drafted a chance to regain explosiveness, control, and future direction in one move. In the end, this is what Santa Clara looks like right now. Nothing is standing still, even when it feels quiet. Aiyuk has become a difficult negotiation that demands a strong hand. Warner returning with no restrictions gives soul back to a defense that badly missed him. Kamara comes in as a reported post-draft name who could turn a small opportunity into a real fight. And Stribbling arrives as an aggressive investment in an offense that has to think beyond the current pain. This team still carries pressure, scars, and ambition. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay right here, because the 49ers season has already started behind the scenes.